They're not the same as black people who were brought here against our will.
That's exactly what I just said.
They decided to walk their butts across the border. There's a big difference. There is a big difference.
That's exactly what I just said.
There's a big difference.
That's exactly what I just said, Sir Michael. Look and act indignant. That's exactly what I just said.
It's not about acting indignant.
Yes, it is.
Let me just share Michael.
That's other than the black
Anna and share Michael.
There are a lot of...
Is that where we're going?
You think I would say, I who have advocated for black people my entire life, would say something like that?
Because you've advocated for black people, great, congratulations. Last time I checked, I'm black, you're not.
Okay, share Michael.
That's right, I'm Latino and my people are being racially profiled.
It is.
And do I have to remind you the history of my people?
Share
Do
Michael.
you want to go there?
No, I don't.
Do you really want to go there?
I know the history.
I play this game of interrupting people when they're talking.
But you're
saying... What is the point of me being on the show if I can never finish my freaking point?
Okay.
This is getting really annoying, Abby.
Hold on.
Everyone else has made their statements. I have yet to say anything.
Hold on a second, okay?
I mean, Jesus.
Hold on a second.
Why are you so angry?
Because I want to say something.
All the Trump claims are legitimate tattoos on this guy are true? Are you saying the Photoshop is true?
Are you a tattoo truther? I mean, I don't understand.
Wait, are you a Photoshop denier?
You're getting away from the issue.
Hold on.
Hello, everybody. Guys, this has to be the most insane, intense panel I think I've ever seen, ever. Check this out. I think it's worth watching from beginning to end. This is absolutely insane. Check this out and we'll talk about it.
Did Donald Trump just jeopardize his own DOJ's case involving deportations? Here's what he said when he was asked about the wrongful deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia to El Salvador.
You could get him back. There's a phone on this desk.
I could.
You could pick it up, and with all the power of the presidency, you could call up the president of El Salvador and say, send him back right now.
And if he were the gentleman that you say he is, I would do that.
That would contradict the DOJ's argument that they can't bring him back. Trump seemed to soften that response today.
Do you think President Bukele would turn you down if you made that request?
I don't know. I haven't spoken to him. I really leave that to the lawyers, and I take my advice from Pam and everybody that is very much involved. They know the laws, and we follow the laws exactly.
Joining us in our fifth seat at the table is immigration attorney Raul Reyes. Raul, he seemed to recognize that he might have put them in a tough spot because he said basically, yeah, I could get him back if I wanted to.
Right. You know, no matter what your viewpoint is on this case, I mean, I don't think anyone's going to deny that Trump's comments today are extremely problematic for the DOJ going forward with how they deal with Mr. Abrego Garcia, because they've had shifting stances in public about him, but their legal filings have pretty much been the same, that it was a mistake. But now we see the president taking the public stance that suggests that they have decided not to bring him back. And the reason that's going to be so difficult for them moving ahead is that at the hearing on Monday, or before the federal judge about this case, they're going to have all these public comments that, such as this from the president, lining up against their original arguments that there was nothing they could do about it. And what's, I think, confusing for a lot of people is how the narrative has changed since March 14th. In the beginning, they couldn't bring him back because the flights had taken off. Then there was a narrative that continues about how he's a drug dealer, a gang member, allegedly a human trafficker. Then they said Bukele will not bring him back. Now the president is saying he could bring him back, or he could ask and do it, but he won't. And from the DOJ's point of view, it's really hard to work with that. You could say, at best, the president is abrogating some of his executive authority to these unnamed lawyers, or at worst, you can look at these statements and say the president seems to be defying a court order from a co-equal branch of government.
You know, it's getting to the point where I'm wondering how much time is being wasted here. I mean, the judge didn't say bring him back and set him free. They said just bring him back, put him through the process, send him to a place that he can be sent. They could just do that, and this would be over in like 2 weeks.
The judge didn't even say bring him back. Or the Supreme Court didn't even say. They just said facilitate.
Facilitate, right? Yes,
facilitate
the return,
is the word. Gave him some
but
room.
you know, my point is, like, they are fighting this tooth and nail when they could really be rid of this problem by just doing it the correct way. It's a little perplexing
to me. It's hubris, it's arrogance, it's stubbornness of not wanting to admit error, right? Look, many moons ago, lifetimes ago, I was the lobbyist for the government of El Salvador. And I can tell you the relationship between the U.S. and El Salvador is like that between Goliath and a moth. Okay? if the president of the United States picks up the phone and tells Bukele to send that man back, that man is coming back. But what the president and Marco Rubio are telling him is, when you get asked, say you're not sending him back because that's going to be our excuse. I think this is so stupid. I mean, it's wrong in so many ways. But, you know, yesterday when we saw the poll numbers on the 100 days or 2 days ago, his numbers on immigration, his approval rating on immigration have gone down. They haven't gone down because of the way he's handling the border. I think most people are happy with that. They have gone down because of the lack of due process, because of the cruelty, because of the 2-year-old, the 4-year-old with cancer, U.S. citizen that was deported, because of the 20-year-old U.S. citizen young man in Florida detained for 30 hours, because of the U.S. citizen's home in Oklahoma that was broken into by ICE and raided. Those are the things that America is hearing about, and I think it, you know, it repulses us. It repulses us, and it worries us to see lack of due process, cruelty, to see, you know, and defiance of judicial orders.
52% say, according to his new CNN poll, that and when it comes to undocumented immigrants who are being deported by Trump, Trump has gone too far. That's 52%. Scott.
Well, several things. Number one, the children that you mentioned were not deported. They went with their mothers. Their mothers requested that the children come with them. So their mothers were deported because they were illegal aliens.
They didn't get the process.
And so
to go through
they went.
process.
So there's really two choices here: split the family or keep the family together. The U.S. government's policy here was to let the mothers decide. The mothers decided to take the children. That's number one. On the Garcia case, effectively what you all are arguing for, passionately, and what Democrats are passionately arguing for, is for the President of the United States to re-import a dangerous member of a transnational terrorist organization who has clear affiliations with a gang that commits heinous atrocities. That is not what he was elected to do. And whether you bring him back here or not, I'm just going to explain to you the politics of this through telling you what the Speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, did today, which is that he told his members, please, for the love of God, stop going to El Salvador and dying on this hill. The politics of this could not be worse for the left and worse for Democrats because the president knows he was elected to protect us from MS-13, and that is what they are doing.
None of the things you just said have been proving. None of the things.
What do you say about the tattoos?
I say that what Trump said yesterday was an absolute lie.
It's not.
They're
not.
Wait,
they're not
are you saying the MS-13 that Donald Trump claims are legitimate tattoos on this guy are true? Are you saying the Photoshop is true?
Are you a tattoo truther? I mean, I don't understand.
Wait, are you a Photoshop denier?
You're getting away from the issue.
Hold on. Yeah, we are getting away from the issue.
He's so effing disgusting. Re-importing. Like if it's a product that Trump's tariff tax is going to be placed on. Like, this dude is a smug, racist prick. He wants that tattoo story to be real so badly. Because, again, it's just all about demonizing. This is what Republicans do. This is the same playbook. It's about scaring the people, the living hell out of people. Like, look how bad he wants the hand tattoo story to be real. Or try to blur the line some way. No one is saying... The only issue that people have with this is this don't due process. Is that these people are not having their day in court. You're just sending people to El Salvadorian prisons without checking if they did anything. Like, they deserve due process. Imagine a world like this, that someone can just say, hey, you committed a crime, you're going to jail. Now imagine if someone said that, but actually you're going to go to this other country and go to jail there. I mean, this is insane. And they do this scare tactic. Well, look at his hand tattoos. He's in a gang. Guys, he's been here 14 years. He didn't commit any crimes. 14 years, did not commit any crimes. Like, this is a common tactic with them. They do it against black people, Jewish people, Hispanics, Arabs. It's all about scaring people. I mean, they do it. Their big one now is trans people. You pick up your child one day from school and they'll come back a different gender. Like, what the F are they talking about? But again, this stuff only works on Republicans. And it's dangerous. This is why it's extremely dangerous to have a population that is uneducated. They aren't able to think for themselves or put any pieces together. So they just listen to these idiots online and believe everything they say. They are for all intensive purposes, brain dead.
Scott, the picture of his knuckles does not say MS-13.
The symbols.
Okay, yeah. Let me just explain to people
That
what
has
we're
not
talking
been
about
proven
here.
either, Scott.
None
of the things
hold on,
guys. They have not said so in
court. Let me
court.
just explain to people what we're talking about here. There are symbols on his knuckles. None of them say MS-13. However, this administration has decided that they symbolize something related to MS-13, which is disputed by a lot of people.
It's not disputed.
I am going to move on. I'm going to move on because this is not a conversation about the tattoos. One of the other things that happened this week is that a California judge said that you can't just scoop people up and deport them without a warrant. And in that case, basically the judge is saying, you know, you're basically taking anybody who's in a particular area. If they don't want to talk to you, you're taking them, detaining them, and assuming that they are deportable, and that you can't really do that anymore.
What the judge is saying is nothing radical. This is basically comports with existing law. It comports with decades of decisions around this matter, which in like pure layman's basic terms means that ICE agents cannot go after people, arrest them and detain them solely on the basis of being having brown skin and being working class. And what was so interesting about this case for me is that the Border Patrol did not contest any of the allegations.
They actually claimed that they changed their guidelines.
Their response was just that they were going to do better training. And this issue is right in line with the Mr. Abrego-Garcia case. It's a question of due process. Whatever we feel about Mr. Abrego-Garcia, it's honestly irrelevant. It's a question for the immigration judge.
On Mr. Garcia, we keep saying that there's no evidence that this guy belonged to a gang.
No evidence in court filings.
That's not true.
No, that is true.
That is true.
Michael, that is true.
No. Hold on. We always have to play this game of interrupting people when they're talking.
But you're
saying... What is
saying...
the point of me being on the show if I can never finish my freaking point?
Okay.
This is getting really annoying, Abby.
Hold on.
Everyone else has made their statements. I have yet to say anything.
Hold on a second, okay?
I mean, Jesus.
Hold on a second.
Why are you so angry?
Because I want to say something, and I have a point of view to make it as well.
Hang on just one second. Share, Michael.
Hey, easy now. Don't talk to Abby like that. Watch your steps there, little one. Child booster seats, Sir Michael here. You don't intimidate anyone or anything. You're a weak, itty-bitty man. I'd love to see him talk to another man. The way this is how Republicans are. It's such cowards.
Let me ask you a question. The question is, has the government presented evidence in court that Abrego-Garcia is a member of MS-13?
And my response...
And the answer is no, that has not happened in court. But it doesn't mean that they have not made those claims publicly. It doesn't mean that those claims are not in police reports.
In 2019...
It doesn't mean that they're not in police reports. They're just not statements that were made in a court case.
In 2019, the immigration judge at the time believed the Prince George's County gang unit and the evidence that they presented before that judge at the time that Mr. Garcia did indeed belong to a gang. This is not my opinion. People can Google this crap. They can Google this. CBS reported on this. If a judge believed it in 2019, is it now all of a sudden not true?
The judge granted him a withholding of removal.
I acknowledge that fact.
Which is a different issue. Hold on.
But the point remains that a judge found the evidence to be credible that Mr. Garcia did indeed belong to a gang. So now all of a sudden we're just not going to believe judges?
The judge...
we can't have it both ways.
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but my only point is that the government has not presented beyond the police report. They have not actually presented the evidence to prove that he belonged to this gang.
So police reports not considered evidence before a court of law? Do judges not consider police reports? What are we saying here?
Sure, Michael, what was the original?
This is relevant.
I actually want Sher Michael to finish the point.
It absolutely is relevant to the argument from the administration, which is that Mr. Garcia belonged to a gang as one of the reasons of deporting him out of the country. And you guys are saying there's no truth to it. There's no facts to it. That's not true.
The Constitution is very clear. It does not say citizens. It says no person should be deprived of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness without due process. It doesn't matter what he's done in his past. The Boston Wait a minute. Let me finish. The Boston bomber had due process.
Yeah, that's a due process.
That's what this is about. I gave you time. Let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. This is a president who continues to twist the Constitution to adapt to whatever his vision is, to the point of the 2-year-old who was deported without due process, an American citizen. His father did not want him to go, and the only access he had to his daughter was listening to his daughter cry in the background in a 1-minute call. That 4-year-old did not get access to a doctor, despite the fact of having stage 4 cancer, did not have his medication with him when he was deported, an American citizen, to Honduras. This is what this president is doing. He is twisting the definition of the Constitution, and people like you are disparaging character to try to justify the disparaging.
I'm not disparaging
Due process
character.
does matter.
Did
You're
he
right
have
about
due
that.
process or not?
But the idea that Mr. Garcia's past doesn't matter is ludicrous.
To the due process
we live
currently,
in
absolutely
a
does.
sovereign nation, and this idea that people can just come into our country and do whatever the heck they want to do is absurd to me. And if Democrats want to die on this hill, I promise you'll regret it politically. So go right ahead.
Go
right ahead.
for Americans.
Go
Dan,
right
let me
ahead.
let
We don't
Scott
want people breaking
have a
our laws
word.
coming into our country. That is a fact.
Let me let Scott have a word, and then we'll move on.
It seems to me that the political analysis of this, though, is, and a lot of average people are looking at it this way. Why is it that we can let 20 million people into the country just walk across, whatever, and there's no real process for them to do that, but then we have to individually pick out every single person and go through years upon years upon years of paperwork and this and that and the other, and all we're trying to do is send them back to where they came from because they came here illegally in the first place. 20 million in with no process. How do you get 20 million out with years and years of people fighting every single case? You could cherry pick any case you want. But the reality is the crisis that put Donald Trump in the White House was caused over years and years and years of neglect and letting people walk into here without any process at all, and now you're trying to gum up the works to keep them here.
A lot of them came in. A lot of them came in with parole. A lot of them came in.
CNN polling shows 54% of Americans want Mr.
November
Abrego
polling
Garcia
showed Donald
back.
Trump won the
That's
election.
CNN polling.
The
public is shifting.
We are a sovereign nation, and you cannot just come into our country illegally whenever the heck you want, because we can't do it to any other country on the face of this earth.
Asylum is a legal right.
If you come in illegally, you have to leave. Americans are tired of that. We do not have unlimited resources.
You know who was here illegally with a deportation order? Marco Rubio's grandfather.
All right,
We're not talking about Marco Rubio.
Oh, now we're not? No, that's not relevant?
It's not relevant.
No, I'm talking about Marco Rubio because Marco Rubio
used
used to be an advocate for TPS for Venezuelans, and Marco Rubio used to be
I'm not
an advocate for Nicaraguans and Cubans. No, I know you're
If you come into
not.
this country illegally, you are going home. Simple as that. We do not have unlimited resources
I think
in
a
this
lot of
country
Americans
to take care of other
There's
people.
a hell of a lot of
Hold on,
people,
guys.
other than the black
Anna.
people who were brought here as slaves who came to this country illegally.
They're
From a
not
lot
the
of
same as
different-
black people who were brought here against our
That's
will.
exactly what I
They
just said.
decided
I
to
said
walk
there is
their
a
butts
lot
across
of
the
people
border. There's
other
a big
than the
difference.
black
There is
people.
a big
That's
difference.
exactly what
There's
I
a
just
big
said.
difference.
That's
Share
exactly
Michael,
what I
share
just said,
Michael
Sir Michael.
and
Look and
Anna.
act indignant. That's
Okay.
exactly what
It's
I
not
just
about
said.
acting
I-
indignant.
Yes, it is.
let me
You just heard me
share
say
Michael.
that other than the black
Anna
people
and
who
share
came
Michael,
as
please.
slaves,
High ground
there are
here.
a lot of people from
Share
many,
Michael. I
many
think you actually
countries that came
misheard
here
what she.
illegally.
I think you misheard what she said.
No, he purposely misheard it.
She said.
I purposely
Yes,
misheard
she
it.
did.
So now you're in my
Share
brain?
Michael, listen to me for
Is
just a
that
second.
where we're going?
You
Share
think
Michael,
I would
listen to me
say
for a
I who
second.
have advocated
Anna,
for black
please
people
stop.
my entire life would
Anna,
say something like that?
Anna,
Give me a
Because
damn
you've
break.
advocated for black
Anna,
people,
please
great.
stop.
Congratulations. Last time I checked, I'm black. You're not.
Okay, Share Michael.
That's right. I'm Latino, and my people are being racially profiled.
It is.
And
And do I have to remind you the history of my people?
Share
Do I
Michael.
want to go there?
No, I
Do you
don't.
really
Okay,
want to go
we're
there?
gonna
and
go to
know
break.
how
know the
to-
history.
Raul,
You're
we're going to go to
you know
break.
why?
Raul
Because
Reyes,
you're
thank you
kidding
very
me,
much for
because
joining us.
history-
Everybody else, hang tight.
History was not
We'll be right back.
erased when I was studying history like the
Guys, that was unbelievable. What he said at the end there, do you understand what he's trying to say there? So what, because you're black and she's Hispanic, she can't talk to you about racism? Like, are you effing kidding me? When this is just so incredible, guys. He got fired by Trump because he criticized, when he was working for HUD under Ben Carson, because he criticized how Trump was speaking about the black community. Didn't call him a racist or anything. Was a coward then like he's a coward now. And he got physically escorted out of HUD. Now he's defending that very racist that completely neutered him. Instead of fighting back like Anna Navarro, who's been a lifelong Republican, he became a racist apologist, a racism justifier of sorts. And you only ever see these Republicans just get this hysterical against women. These people truly despise women, especially the ones that have a seat at the table. He wish he had the dignity, the respect that Anna Navarro or Abby Phillip has. Little Shermichael knows. He's such a little coward. He knows not to speak to another man like that. He would have gotten folded up like a long chair real quick. And he wants to be able to lie and fog up the conversation. Like, I really couldn't believe what I saw when I saw this. To go out there and throw the race card against someone who's Hispanic, to be honest, against anyone, it doesn't matter. When you're fighting on the opposite side of that race card, you're defending the most racist modern president of our time. This is so disgusting. A man that thinks that people that look like you, Shermichael, are subhuman, that are less than. What the F are you doing for black people? In fact, you are harming them. Do you think, quick mind experiment for you, Shermichael, if Martin Luther King and Malcolm X could be in that room, do you think they would be standing behind Anna Navarro or behind you? You child booster seat fool. The guy you're defending is removing at this moment, every little chance he gets, all different types of museums from the walls of the White House, removing accomplishments of black people and teaching of black history. Or how about trying to reteach about how slavery is taught? You know how black people should be grateful for once being a slave, as it gave them some skills to, like being a carpenter, you know, because you were forced to learn or die in brutal, just abhorrent ways. The man that called illegal immigrants, the way you guys like to use that word, illegal immigrants jobs as black jobs. What do you think he meant by that, Shermichael? How about DEI hires for anyone of color, no matter how accomplished they are? What do you think your ancestors would call you? What do you think they're thinking about you? If they could be here right now. Actually, let me get a little bit more personal. And I don't necessarily like to do this. I'll insult you if you're a prick. But to get too personal, I don't really like to do that. But I think this might make you understand better. What does your father or mother, or even better, what does your grandparents think about this? Or would think about that? But let's be real. You stopped caring about the people who made it possible for you to even sit on that damn table. And for Anna Navarro to be able to sit on that table. And Abby Phillip to be able to sit on that table. All you care is that you're keeping that check. Forget your own people, right? As long as you're all good, F everyone else, right? That's the Republican alpha male way. You're a sellout little punk. And history has never looked too kind on the spineless. But I'm going to leave it there, guys. I'd love to know what you think in the comments about all this. That was insane. Please leave a like, subscribe. It really helps the channel. It really helps get the message out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.